Click the links to join the channel here over at SubScribestar, now over at Odyssey, the various other links. Thanks to everyone who's using the throne and all the other platforms. So Muppets gets the Disney treatment. The thing here is, Jim Henson Company responds to Disney destroying the last of Henson's legacy with Muppet Vision 3D. The thing here is this isn't about money. Disney's motivation is not primarily pecuniary, it's propaganda. The Muppets were good. And Disney is evil lizard people. And evil can't stand being reminded of what good is. Globalists hate the juxtaposition of themselves with a better alternative. And almost anything is a better alternative, but especially the Muppets. They had so many good movies. When you were a kid, you knew when comics, toys, or stories in general, where things were more real compared to the corporate soulless Barbie stuff. And I hate to name some examples because I know that some of you will be writing my name on a 30-06 if I insult your favorite Thundercats, Smurfs, G.I. Joe, Transformers, whatever. The peak would be my German grandfather hand making a wooden toy versus some Japanese or American plastic piece of garbage that's not connected to anything. It's just a group of lizards sitting around in an office thinking of a new widget to sell to kids that's going to be a combination of a poisonous cereal, a cartoon, and a plastic toy. It is the ultimate soy slop for the mindless consumer. Yes, I would make these things illegal. That's what the Minister of Culture would be. Toys would have to be based and connected to history. But a country that the lizards knew was not going to be European for long. They didn't want toys that reminded people of their greatness. It's like even with Marvel and DC, their comics were derivative of mythology from around the world, mostly European for their audience. And in a better world, the comics would not have been Spider-Man or Batman, but more historically based comics. So American comics were a derivative of stories that were tied to real history and the mythology of a people. But I suppose since you can't copyright those characters, you're better off making these derivative characters, which were fun as a kid, but now I look back on them and I understand how subversive they were. Not that the stories were so corrupting themselves so much, but it's more of a passive evil. It's a displacement activity where a kid is reading an hour a day of Doc Ock, Spidey, and Iron Man, where there could have been that hour dedicated to a comic based on history to actually teach the kids the names of places, people, and events. And no matter how you feel about Vox Day, I don't know the first thing about him. He has written some comics which are more historically based in both meanings of the word. I still like Iron Man as a character and most of the others, but I realize that that kind of stuff is the ultimate empty calories of mental soy slop. And even back then, there was always a narrative that had to be followed because the comic industry always was left-wing and anti-nationalism. And I remember somewhere in 2014 or 2015, for whatever reason, I went, probably because, I don't know, I had a tablet and you could go online and VPN and a torrent or P2P, or just using websites. You could find a lot of this old stuff, and I went back and I started rereading a ton of stuff, and actually a lot of it held up. But for some of it, there was a little. I mean, some stuff was almost completely devoid of propaganda. Like I went back and read the Hulk from the beginning, or Spider-Man. A bunch of Iron Man was just freaking amazing to watch his evolution. Anyway, I gotta say the Hulk. I kind of thought, like, before I went back and read the Hulk, I thought in my mind, oh, it's going to be stupid. How do you make the character entertaining? But I went back, it's like the guy managed to do it, and plus the art was such a trip. Anyway, as a kid, you knew when a company had sold out, when something had started as one thing, something real, and it changed and it turned into these corporate lizards selling widgets, which is what all of America has turned into now, but you have to be old enough to see it when things were different. Like when Disney was Walt Disney, it was Disney, or Star Wars was with George Lucas, or Lord of the Rings with Tolkien. It's the way of the world where stories try to exist in economic zone countries, which is the entire West, and it's a challenge, especially in America. It's a consumer banker machine that eats everything: creativity, originality, spark, continuity, people and culture. Nothing can withstand the corrupting machine that is America, because it used to be a nation, but it has been transformed into this commercial zone controlled by banks and corporations, where everything original gets the McDonald's, Disney, Coke treatment. Something can be real for the life in being, plus the family that cares about honoring it. It's like the rule against perpetuities in real estate law, but for creativity. Robert Jordan had Wheel of Time. It was what he wanted it to be. Now Amazon has it, and it's sodomy and AIDS. You don't live in a free society. If you think that, you're extremely naive. Real things getting through the cracks is the exception. Facebook is probably a DARPA program, and you carry a spy device on you at all times. Almost everything we see is carefully curated and manipulated. It's why I assume Facebook bought Instagram or Google bought YouTube. Surveillance and creating public opinion using artificial intelligence to manipulate the population to stay within an accepted spectrum of allowable opinion that our masters are comfortable with is why you don't have a right wing. You have a controlled right wing. That includes Twitter, unfortunately, Gateway Pundit, Post-Millennial, Rebel, PragerU, Daily Wire, Fox News, Blaze, and pretty much every mainstream media company you can think of. America has never been faker and gayer than it is right now. It's just such a slow boil that we don't see it until some people are able to get the message out on alternative media. And it seems so shocking and offensive to hear politically incorrect opinions like things, I don't know, your grandparents might say. The new TV is the dystopian nightmare that Art Bell dreamed of, where the TV would have the ability to watch you. Yeah, it does. It's the internet and the cell phone. Now with AI and sufficient computer power, you could emulate real people, and eventually you wouldn't even be able to tell the difference. I mean, you could write a horror story about a guy who isn't seen as many people around lately. Houses are empty, but the online life is as active as ever while he thinks he's talking to people, while the real world starts disappearing. You get the idea. The globalists must destroy the past because the present is bad and the future is going to be worse. Sorry for the black pill. If you're listening to the Odyssey bits, you're actually, most of you are ahead of me. For communists, every year has to be year zero, and it's problematic to ask, why was the past better? And why progressive values mean low trust, high violent crime cities. The Muppets was a better time in America, a time that is gone forever. Now America is progressive, diverse, equitable, and inclusive. That just means violence, but that's the price of progress. What say hypocrites? You can't stop progress? Well, everything you enjoyed in the past, they will make unrecognizable with race-swapped characters or globalist propaganda. They can't allow a juxtaposition of a successful ideology that is the one they oppose, because people will look at it and they'll just go, well, why aren't we doing that? Why don't we take these values instead of what the media is pushing? It's the question that they always ask naive normies on the left and the right, in that middle of the political bell curve. They ask this, just the dumbest, most naive question is, they go things like, well, wait, why can't we have walkable cities or public transportation like some European village in the French mountains or something, where the streets, cars can't drive through certain streets. It's just all outdoors cafes, and you're walking around through it, and they have, public transportation, or like Japan or South Korea, or some little, I don't know, Swedish village or something. It's like these normies that get on social media and they look at these things, and I think honestly, like, they're left-wing people, you can tell by their accounts, and they're looking at this like, oh yeah, we just need to replicate this in some American city, and the results will be just exactly the same as some I don't know, Norway village where they have walkable cities. We'll just do it in America, and it'll be the same result. And even other left wingers are looking at them. It's like, yeah. So you still want to defund the police and have very light sentencing guidelines, and public. You want to like take cars away from people and force them into public transportation. And these naive young leftists like, yeah, it'll be perfect. And you look at them like, where do you live? And they live in the suburbs, or they live in an area where they just don't know the way of the world on why you can't have nice things. Why is everything so plastic and milquetoast today? Why is everything rootless, shallow, and meaningless? Why can't you have nice things at the city level or at the pop culture level? Well, anyway, thanks to everyone on the alt platforms, the Odyssey member section, SubScribestar, Throne, Buy Me a Coffee, the mailbox. Thanks for the comics from LG and Vega and everyone else. And I will see you guys all next episode.